All right, well, listen, let's get started. I'm thrilled to have you, Alex Brown from the Concept Law Group. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your law firm.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. So I'm a managing partner at the Concept Law Group. I manage the litigation side. My partner runs the transactional side to help apply for the various levels of intellectual property. What we primarily do is we protect and enforce your IP rights, which is patent rights, copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets, those types of things. The things that are important to a business that help give business their goodwill and the value that all the consumers love.
Yeah, intellectual property and trademark, it's such an interesting area of the law because it can help anyone who wants to grow a business, whether it's a startup or a long-standing business, or they want to come out with a new logo. So you handle the litigation side of things. What are some of the types of cases that come up where, you have to get involved in litigation involving a trademark or some other intellectual property?
So I'm that. The transactional side of my firm is like the prevent maintenance side of the firm, right? They're the preventive medicine, where you go into your doctor and you make sure you're staying healthy, you're making sure you're doing things right for your business and keeping things in check. Now, when you get struck with an illness or you have somebody, coming in and stealing your rights, that's where I get involved, right? So somebody will come to me, for instance, one of my clients years ago, he worked for Home Depot for many years, and he came to me and said, "Hey, I got this patent, and it's something that I developed because I wanted to offer it to Home Depot." I offered it to Home Depot, and they said, "Hey, thanks for the idea," and they ran with it, and they did it, and they're not paying me. What do I do? What are my rights? And so then I look at the patent, I evaluate the patent to see how strong it is to make sure it's in line with what he's claiming, and it was, and so we pursued Home Depot.
So that's an unbelievable story, and I remember hearing about this Home Depot case. And so, this is a good thing to talk about so that people get a good understanding of when, even big companies, right, who, you think of Home Depot, you think trustworthy, you're going to trust them, and you had a client that created something. He was an inventor, or he came up with a patent, offered to them. They basically said, "No, we're not going to do it," and then they took it.
And they took it anyways. And then next thing you know, this device is in 2,000 stores throughout Home Depot nationwide and in Canada, all throughout North America. So we had to pursue Home Depot. We tried to contact Home Depot first and said, "Hey, listen, this is not right. This client has the patent for this technology, so you should do what's right, Home Depot, and pay him for it." And Home Depot snubbed our nose at us because most people don't have the wherewithal to pursue Home Depot. Right?
Yeah.
At the time, a $72 billion company a year. I don't know what they are today, but they're massive, and so it's very difficult for an individual to go after them. So that case, we were able to work on a contingency fee basis and help the client, and prosecuted it to the end. But there's a bunch of other cases that we work on that aren't necessarily against the big box stores or the big corporations of the world, but maybe it's a fallout of a business arrangement. Like, for instance, my last trial I had within the last year, it was dealing with a copyright issue where it dealt with a cosmetic product.
Uh-huh.
The business partners left, and they started a competing business. And they started competing business using the trade ideas and all the intellectual property from their former employer. So we pursued them, and we got a $3 million verdict against them. So it's not always a big box or big company that's stealing the rights. It could be anybody.
So really, the ideal client, or some of the people that are out there that are watching this, whether it could be any type of business, small business, big business, but if they are in a situation where they believe that someone is stealing their intellectual property, stealing their trademark, stealing their copyright, or some of the stuff that they've created, that is when they can reach out to you to investigate. Hey, you may have a case, and I may be able to recover significant compensation because they've taken what they don't have a right to take.
Yeah, but the key is to call, right? To call a trusted patent attorney that does litigation, because what we find so often is people think that they receive their patent and they now have a right to damages starting from the day they get their patent. And there's a quirk in the law that says even if the person who's stealing your idea knows about your patent, you don't get $1 worth of damages until you're properly putting the infringer on notice. So just because you have a patent doesn't entitle you to anything. You actually have to pursue your rights.
So this is critically important, because I've seen this in my career where there's a letter that kind of puts someone on notice. Hey, you are infringing upon my rights. Is that a critical letter that needs to be done, where people should reach out to you to start that time frame so that they can actually bring litigation?
it's not only critical, but it's critical that you do it right. So you got to do it timely, you got to do it right, because there's certain ways that you do it, you can mess it up. And if you mess it up, then you might land yourself in a piece of litigation that not only have you jeopardize your rights to damages, but you could have also jeopardized your right to select the venue in which you're litigating your case, right? You could be litigating somewhere where you don't want to litigate. For instance, if you're a business down here and you're sending an infringement letter to somebody, in another state, you may end up litigating in that other state and you don't want to. So you want to be very careful and look at all the strategic values of where you want to prosecute your case and prosecute your patent. So that a lot of strategy goes into actually how the letter gets sent, when the letter gets sent. But at a Home Depot case, for instance, the client was able to reach out at the right time, put him on notice at the right time, and it resulted in a great recovery of nearly $25 million at the end in a verdict.
That's an unbelievable result. And what I love about the Concept Law Group, because you guys are seasoned in the area of trademark, not just creating the patents or helping people get the patent or get the trademark, get the copyright, but then also obviously if someone's infringing upon it, then you can litigate. So is the Concept Law Group, is it a one-stop shop where people can go and then not only get help getting the patent, but also litigation?
100%. I hope clients never have to come see me, right? I'm the oncologist of my trade, right? I'm when things go wrong because things got stolen from you, or suddenly you got an illness struck that you weren't expecting. But our primary focus, and I get involved with this as well, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but is to make sure the client, the small business, is actually protecting their rights properly, right? Because if you protect your rights properly, if you do have to see me, then you have a much better case that you've now put together, because you've gotten the right patent, you've gotten the proper trademark, and you've timed all those properly. If you wait, for instance, give you another story. We had another case against Uber. Everybody knows Uber. They're the ride-sharing service. We had a client that actually was Uber before Uber was Uber, right? But here's the problem. They didn't, our client didn't have the guidance, didn't have the advice to go out and get a proper trademark on their brand years prior. So they just kept their brand without doing a trademark with the Federal Trademark Office. And what happened was Uber, then the ride-sharing service that we know, got rights throughout the entire country except the small jurisdiction that our clients were using the mark. Now, it still presented a problem because Uber, the ride-sharing service, wanted to, infiltrate that area as well, but they capped their damages because now they only get the damages for what was going on in that particular location.
Wow, that is so really the bottom line is that people who are either startup businesses or they're creating their logo, their branding, whatever it is, your office is really not just to protect but also to enforce. Well, explain that.
So again, at the front end, I always tell clients one of the smallest investments you can make at the front end of your business, but probably one of the most significant and most impactful, is to make sure your intellectual property is secure. That goes from your brand in terms of what you're calling your company and how you're advertising your services and your trade, but also to protecting your inventions. I'll give you another example. I just had a call from a client. Anybody by any measure would say that this client is very seasoned, very, very well educated, and knows their trade very well. And they hired a vendor to perform services of contracting service to develop software code. And they developed software code for them. And now they're at the end and they said, hey, they're not turning over the code to us. They're giving us a copy, but they're not giving us the entire code. And we want to be able to hold this for ourselves. And I said, well, let me see the agreements. There's no work for hire in there. There's no assignment in there. And the way copyright law works is if you are the author of the code, you own it. Not the person who's paying for it. You own it. The person who's paying for it gets a right to use it, but it's a non-exclusive right. So the company that actually created the code, even though you paid them a handsome penny for it, they can go and they can market it to your competitor. So whenever you're going out there to try to build IP, build copyrights, build code or whatever, or build an invention, you want to make sure you have the right agreements in place to make sure that when you're paying for that sort of creation, you're owning it at the end.
And it's so funny that you brought that up, because really just even like me as an attorney, these are like little nuances that we don't know just naturally if we don't practice in that very specific niche. So like I had a marketing company that helped build my website, and they did some marketing stuff in the background. And when I said it's time to leave, they wouldn't turn over the documentation, even though it was in the agreement. So I know I had a strong case, but and I was willing. Listen, I was willing to walk from it because I was still able to get the information that I needed and the code that I needed. But that's a perfect example of, it's really something you have to look like ahead of time, make sure that it's protected. Come to the concept law group, make sure that you look at the agreement, that it has all the necessary provisions to protect your client, so that at the end of the day, if people do go separate ways, they get to keep what they've paid for.
And we've built our firm with that knowledge and that concept, right? And that's why we're called the Concept Law Group, because we're building around the business concept, right? And to make sure that the business is protected from every facet. And so, to give you an example, we have trademark experts on staff. We have patent experts on staff. We have litigation experts on staff. We have business law attorneys on staff. And those business law attorneys help with all those agreements and that we're talking about. They help with terms of use, terms of services, these ownership agreements, that help with building your portfolio if you want to go through a merger or acquisition, those types of things, because all your IP is really what's valuable. Look at any big sale between the big tech companies. What are they really selling? They're selling their IP.
Yeah.
They're selling their portfolios of patents, their portfolios of trademarks, their portfolios of copyrights. That's what's actually being sold. That's where most businesses' value comes from.
And that's why I love the Concept Law Group, because you have that team, that staff, those people that are going to support the different teams in your office, the litigation, the transactional. I mean, the Concept Law Group, they are a powerhouse here in South Florida. And I mean, you guys have been doing this for a long time.
We've been doing it for a while. I mean, the Concept Law Group's been around since 2010. We can't believe that we are where we are. But I mean, I've been practicing for 20 years. My partners have been practicing for the same amount. We have one partner that's been practicing. We call him the dinosaur. He's been practicing for like 40 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we're very well known in the industry, and we banded together intentionally to be able to provide that service in a boutique format, so that you get your high-powered, big law services that you expect, but at a small boutique firm price and concierge type service where we're giving you white glove personal treatment.
And it's funny because whenever we talk, I always start asking little business questions, because I'm always impressed by the growth and the management, and that you got the different teams going on. I mean, listen, when I grow up, I want to be like you guys.
Likewise. And we'll grow up together.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's funny because I wanted to talk about this real quickly, but how we met, right? How we met was during the pandemic, and it was through social media.
It was.
And so what I've noticed, just for small business owners, or for individual, whether lawyers or whatever, as far as networking, social media is so critical in today's age. I mean, it was during the pandemic. I think we met LinkedIn. I was posting some videos, I think, on some litigation tactics and skills, and something captured your eye. Do you remember that? Or
I remember like it was yesterday. I can't believe so much time has passed. Are we out of COVID yet?
Yeah, I know, right?
But that's when it was going on. We were hunkered down. We were shut out of our regular environments and our regular life, everyday lives. I'm not a social media guy. Hats off to you in terms of everything you do. I mean, it literally is amazing and something to be admired. We try to do it, and we're getting better at it. But during that time, I had no other outlet, so I started looking into social media a little bit deeper, and that's where I saw you. I love trials. I'm a trial attorney, and I know that makes me a little sick myself, because trial attorneys are just unique characters. That's what my partner always tells me. But I saw you. I saw your videos. I thought they were fantastically put together. I wanted to introduce myself, and that's how we connected, and we've been connected ever since.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I mean, I just think in today's age, it's really important for
It's critical.
business owners, and whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok. I mean, I think there's just so many different avenues to be able to connect with other lawyers. And like I said, I'm glad that we've met. I'm glad that you're here. Tell everybody how they can get in touch with the Concept Law Group.
So easiest way, go on our website, right? We have www.conceptlawgroup, or Concept Law, I should say, conceptlaw.com. We dropped the group on the website, so conceptlaw.com. They can call me as well. My direct dial, 754-300-1325. That's 754-300-1325. They can email me as well. It's abrown@conceptlaw.com.
And they can also look you up on LinkedIn.
They can look me on LinkedIn. That's right. That's
Alex
how we
Brown.
found each other.
All right, man. Listen, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.